Hi everyone, I'm Cassian J. from the IIA, and I'm here today with Kathleen Edmond to talk about auditing your compliance program. So Kathleen, with the increased regulatory requirements on firms today, what are some of the challenges that you see in auditing a compliance program?
You know, depending on the industry and the regulation, that's kind of the first part of your question, which would be too far to go into right now. But the regulatory agencies are becoming more and more interested in compliance controls, compliance programs, making decisions daily that change the landscape. So I think prior to conducting a compliance program within your business or your industry, certainly do some background checking on what's the current state of affairs, what are the regulators looking at, to make sure that you're looking at current events. You might also anticipate what's coming down the pipe. So, for instance, several years ago there was an issue with stock option backdating. And before the regulators ever got involved, our internal audit team and compliance team got together and said, this is coming, this is on the landscape, let's look and make sure. We don't think there's an issue, but let's make sure that there is not one. So let's do a tight, laser-focused audit on that issue alone. So that's one way to use and be responsive to the regulatory environment.
Great. Do you have any best practices that you recommend for conducting such an audit on the compliance department?
It's a pretty broad question, but I think the first thing is to make sure that you've actually got a good relationship with the compliance program throughout the year. But second of all, make sure you understand the audit is framed. There's what's the purpose of what we're auditing? Are we auditing a specific control? Are we auditing the form of the program? What is it that exactly are we auditing? Conducting an audit of a compliance program can be a new territory for internal auditors, and unlike other kinds of audits they do, because it's more amorphous in some ways. One of the mistakes I've seen happen in the past is the audit simply covers those things that are easy to measure. So for instance, an easy thing to audit would be how many calls are coming into the hotline. The problem with that kind of a review is, so what? Is that a good, are more calls good? Are more calls bad? Just because it's easy to measure doesn't mean it's really the right thing to audit. Maybe a better question to ask is, are all the calls coming into the hotline being handled? Are they being handled promptly? Are they being handled, so it's those kinds of process and effectiveness questions that I think are more beneficial to the organization, to the compliance department, and really more of an effectiveness audit. Does that make sense?
That's great. Yes, it sure does.